Everybody has their own fighting style, in some sense. But as one that has looked at a lot of them, I can say many are more or less the same. But there is one that is not like the other. There is one that are much harder to pull off than the others. And this exact same one is highly effective if pulled off right. Let me tell you about it. The first thing you want to know about this kind of fighting style is it relies solely on your movement in game. Your control of your joystick or trackpad or whatever it is essential for this combat to work. And you need to make sure that you can kick whenever you need to, because kicking is another thing to look out for in this one. Jumping is also of course important, and the same goes for equipping and unequipping your weapons. Everything like that should you already could do on command immediately for this one to work perfectly. It is a fine combat style, but you need to really go into it for it to work. And you need to be prepared to be tired if you want it to work. I do not use it a lot myself because I simply don't have the energy to consistently keep on moving like that for so long. But if you can manage it, it is incredibly powerful. But you need to have a good understanding on where the enemies are, where they're going to be, and if you slash out now and go past them, when are you going to hit them and where? Because this one is basically just fighting on ice while you're jumping. It is a extreme fighting style, but it do work very well. But it requires a lot of attention and focus on what your objective is, and especially your knowledge of your surrounding areas, because if you get stuck on this one, you are more or less dead, because the way you'll fight with this one is non-defensive. It's basically all offensive. Of course, you'll always defend yourself against attacks if they're in your way, but you do not have a stance that can easily protect you with this one, because you're going to flail a lot around with your swords, because your main way of defending yourself is dodging and speeding past enemies. That's why it's incredibly dangerous once you take this into the dungeon. Because if you do, like I do, play on the hardest difficulty, it only takes like 4 or 3 hits for you to die. That's why if you try to use this fighting style, you need to be cautious about not getting stuck into enemies, like you'll see here. That if you get stuck in enemies, you can die extremely quickly. In my experience, you'll normally, if you get stuck like this, take 2 hits and then get free. But if the third hits actually hit you, then you are done for. So keep that in mind if you want to use this. If you get stuck in an enemy or anything like that, you need to get away from it fast, no matter the cost. If your weapon is stuck or something, pick up something else, because it's not worth it if you try to use the tactic. It is extremely effective, but only if you keep on moving. I just want to share it, because I think there is not enough different fighting styles in Blade & Sorcery. I have found many and still try to discover a lot of different fighting styles, different weapons. With this special fighting style, you will normally only be able to use 2-handed swords and one sword and 1 shield, or something along the lines of that. 2-handed weapons are simply just not made for this fighting style, simply because they are too heavy to bear around and they're too clunky to get easily through enemies with. They can also easily get stuck, and they can hinder your running ability, which is a thing this fighting style relies a lot on. That's why I will only recommend using this fighting technique with 1 sword in each hand, because it is quite hard to do otherwise, and it will not be as effective, because this one is purely offensive. There's not really no defensive in this strategy, but it do work and it do look nice if you can pull it off. But if you don't, you're going to regret you tried it. But I think that's that. So thank you for listening along, and have a good one.